Hello, dear friends. Welcome to this program, Our Moments with God, our moments with the Word of God, our moments with the love, mercy, and compassion of God, our moments also with the holy ones of God, the saints of God who have taught us to follow the Lord more closely and intimately, and not to forget that can be done only when we turn our attention onto ourselves and find out our weaknesses or our strong points. And I invite you also to share the videos with others and share the Word of God with more people and ask them to subscribe as well. Thank you. Today, the church remembers one saint called Saint Cyril of Jerusalem. Saint Cyril of Jerusalem lived in the 4th century. He was born in sometime in 315 and then became the bishop of Jerusalem. Now remember, this is 350 when Christianity had, of course, was already growing, but as it was growing, there were also a lot of different opinions and different understanding of Christ himself, of the religion itself, and the sacraments and various things that were coming up, and people could not either understand them fully or misunderstand them, as also it happens now these days. That's why every now and then you hear a new church being open, church of so and so, church of so and so, because each one thinks that they get a part of the truth, but that is the whole truth or whatever. We have no objection to that, but it is a point that is worth thinking about, because particularly Saint Cyril of Jerusalem, he was a theologian, studied a lot and read a lot about Christianity, and also discovered through his own meditation and through his own prayer an understanding of the sacraments. And actually, even as a bishop, it is interesting that he was exiled 3 times because one accusation against him was that he was using the money to sell off, he was selling of things and making use of the money to help the poor. Now, even that became a problem. Then he was also coming up with fighting the wrong teachings, etc., in the church that were coming up. For example, he fought against Arianism. Now, Arianism was a heresy that did not accept fully the divinity of Christ. So he argued against them. Then he developed a whole teaching on baptism. You know, that time baptism used to not take place like we have these days, that as soon as a child is born, within a few weeks or months he is being baptized or she is being baptized. Those days baptism used to take place when the person is grown up and when he has an understanding or she has an understanding of faith. So he actually developed a series of lectures, 18 lectures, just on the topic of baptism alone. And then he wrote a lot about these sacraments. Now, this is something that I want to also mention here, because we get baptized so early in our childhood and also receive Holy Communion and confession sacraments when we are still studying in class 3, 4, 5 maybe. We have very little understanding. The full understanding of these sacraments we do not have. And unfortunately, there is not much that is taught to us later in our life. And this is, I think, a shortcoming that we have with regard to our own faith. And that's why when we do not understand our own faith, the Eucharist, for example, what a deep and beautiful mystery it is to receive Jesus during the Mass in the form of the bread, his own body and blood. Now, that's a very deep and beautiful mystery, but how many of us are told about it in a way that we understand and take it in? So just like these things now which are sprouting and growing, our faith too must grow. Yes, we begin with it, but then it must grow, and Saint Cyril of Jerusalem helps us very much in this. And that's why this verse of the first reading today, which ends from the book of Isaiah 49, chapter 49, in a famous chapter, where God says, showing and expressing his love and care for us, he says, Can a mother forget the child of her womb? Can a mother forget the child of her womb? No, that's not possible. But God says, even if she forgets, I will not forget you. What a powerful love God shows. But how many of us are taught about this? Or how many of us are understand or realize these verses? No, we carry on our faith certainly, but these deeper things we don't understand. And one of the things that Cyril of Jerusalem was fighting was Arianism, which is that who deny the full divinity of Christ. But you see, in today's gospel, Jesus is saying, my Father and I are one. And people got offended because they said, oh, he's blaspheming, he's comparing himself with the Father, he's making himself equal to the Father. But that is the origin of his own divinity, or his claim about his divinity. And only if we know about these things and understand these things, then we won't get into these kind of heresies or controversies which often comes up. I mean, I face this also all the time. Sometimes when I give sermons in the church and go a little deeper, then people either don't understand or they come and argue with me. No, 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 this is not so, this is not so. And that is why it is important for us to go deeper into our faith. And it's a beautiful thing to dive into our faith and learn more about Jesus Christ, about God's mercy, and how God will never forget us. And my dear friends, if you like, you may please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.